to, the sales process and the anatomy of an opportunity. And a lot of the times what we would do is we would hold biweekly calls where the sales reps could jump in and ask for help between sales and the customer success team. So by sharing best practices, I mostly, help them like, okay, well, this is your opportunity. You own it. If you have any questions for it, this is how you can read where in the sales process your opportunity is. So, for example, this is where you look and see, okay, well, is this opportunity in approvals? Has it been fully approved? If it hasn't been fully approved, what tier is it in? Who do I need to reach out to ask what the status of my opportunity is? Because a lot of the times they would only come to me, which, especially at the beginning when we were building this team out, I was supporting at least 25 reps. So what
Oh,
I try to do with, especially with this year, is I try to make them as self-sufficient as possible. So you don't need to come ask me what the status of your opportunity is. You can go into Salesforce and this is what you're going to look at. This is where you look, okay, what is it in the approval process? No.
right.
If it is, who is it with? This is the person that you need to reach out to in order to ask them, hey, why haven't you approved my deal? What can I do, or what do I need to fix? If it has been approved, this is how you send out the agreement. This is how you can send out the agreement yourself. If the agreement hasn't been sent out and you're having issues, this is what you need to do in order to get assistance with having an agreement sent out. If the agreement has been sent out, this is where, and just kind of showing them like, this is what you can do to speed up your sales process. So I would walk them through the anatomy of that sales process, and I provided a lot of documentation on who you need to reach out to depending on where your opportunity is.
Right. So
Or
you, yeah, yeah, go ahead. Or,
um, another thing we would do is especially for the pricing, like a lot of them would ask, hey, like what pricing can I include on here in order to get this approved? Or what is the best way to set this up so that this can get approved as quickly as possible? Or, hey, how do I escalate this in order to get finance to approve this? And I would provide them with, tips and tricks on how to um, speed this up for themselves.
right. So, like, you essentially like helped push them towards self-sufficiency. You trained them and mentored them and told them how they can leverage all these tools, technologies, and documentation that were available to them within the organization, so that they don't come to you over and over again. So that
Hmm.
essentially must have improved their efficiency, right?
Correct. Exactly.
Yeah. All right. So that's pretty interesting, right? You were a mentor.
Mhm.
Okay. Um, bureaucratic. Okay, I don't think this is relevant. Okay, so the next question that I wanted to ask is how, like, you said that you facilitate new hire training and
Mhm.
continuous process training for sales, customer success, as well as hires on SVT, right? So is this the same thing that you were talking about right now?
Correct. Yeah, this ties really closely with the other one. So on top of having these biweekly calls to help, the tenured sales reps and customer success reps, we would have a monthly
Yeah.
call that was a little more in depth for, and a longer call, more in depth for any new hires. So once a month, any we would reach out to the sales leaders and say, hey, if you have any new reps that need to jump on this call, here is the information. They would jump on this call, and I would go through and basically train them on what the opportunity needs to look like, what fields need to be, what fields my team um, what team me. These are the fields that my team, finance, these are the things that we're looking for. These are the things that you need to make sure you include on here in order for the opportunity to not hit any roadblocks. these are the things that you
Right.
need to fill out. These are the people, and again, this is where I would also provide that documentation for them and say, hey, these are the people that you need to be reaching out to if you need assistance with this or this or this. Here are your corresponding um representatives or um yeah, or departments that you need to be asking these questions to. We provided, like the pricing guideline. We offered that, a brief explanation to them on what what type of discounting is usually approved, what things. Again, back to the best practices. We kind of walk them through. These are the things that you need to know. Uh, Especially because our system was very, very complex. Like there was a lot that they need to know. And my main goal in these new hire trainings was, you don't necessarily have to know everything, just learn who you need to ask for help on what.
Right. So that is like your basic goal that you were reaching towards. Okay. All right. So how many hires did you train exactly?
How many?
New hires did you train? Like
Ooh, too many. Um, Gosh, I want
50
to say I
plus?
trained over, yeah, I mean, easily 50 or 50 between the sales department and the success department. I probably trained over 50 representatives.
Yeah, okay. All right. Other than this, yeah, here we go. So, you remember you said that like in previous years, what they used to do was these people used to come to you. They used to like bug you with like, hey, what's the pricing for this? How do we do this? How do we do that? So this year you said, okay, like let's teach them how to be self-sufficient, how to look this stuff up in Salesforce, how to enable them to reference resources for their own knowledge. So like you like wanted to teach them to be self-sufficient, right? So was this your initiative that you took this year to like improve sales performance?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Um,
Right.
there, no, yeah, I mean, it was my,
Right. Okay. And has there been an instance where the new, like you said, like you helped guide them about like sales best practices, right? Has there ever been an instance where you like researched new sales best practices, like the company had these standard protocols, these standard best practices, standard operating procedures, but you went ahead and you researched like publications or sales documents or like what's in I don't know like what reference material states latest sales trends, but like you researched latest sales trends and sales technologies and you recommended that new best practices or new technologies that people can use. So has there ever been such an instance?
no, not necessarily. Again, because most of my best tips and tricks were um operationally inclined.
All right. Okay. All right. Okay. So you were the liaison for and the execution for complex requests. Okay. We talked about this that you were the like liaison between uh like your I believe your team and other departments to deal with like execution for complex requests, right?
Hmm.
Right. Okay. Okay. Like what do you mean by complex requests?
Um, So this was mostly for any strategic deals. So any new customers that were coming in with, over 3,000 unit orders,
Right. Okay.
customers with, um, like a complex solution was anything that went beyond just vehicle tracking. If they needed, um, all the extra services. So on top of the fleet management services, which was like the tracking hardware, I'm sorry, not hardware, the GPS tracking services, anything that went beyond that, like that needed the extra bells and whistles, we would really prioritize those and really really own those deals, and in the sense of that there would be meetings held with all the stakeholders of each department to make sure that these deals were going through properly and in a clean manner.
Right. And these are probably like multi-million dollar deals, right?
Correct.
And like you collaborated with like a team to like ensure these deals went through seamlessly, right?
Hmm.
Okay. And you collaborated like cross-functionally, right?
Correct.
Okay. Right. And do you remember any prominent clients that you had over here? Like any prominent, any like such major or strategic deals with a very prominent client? Any prominent clients that you remember here?
um no, I mean, no, I don't remember top of my head.
Okay, that's not a problem. Okay, and create solutions to provide critical month end or quarter end. Okay, so you said that you create solutions to prioritize critical month end or quarter end. What do you mean by creating solutions and prioritizing critical month end and quarter end? Like, what sorts of solutions did you create, and how did these solutions help the company?
I mean, it was basically forecasting reports. So we would, run a report of um, what was estimated to close at the end of this month, and at the beginning of the month, we went ahead and we would run these forecasting reports and basically export it out and send it over to the sales leaders from this list, and we would have a meeting. And from this list, the sales leaders would let us know, okay, these are the 4 deals that we're really looking to close this month. So we would flag those deals to make sure, ahead of time that these were clean and ready to go, ready for customer signature. All we needed was customer signature, before we got any closer to the end of month. Um,
Right.
we would also um, and not only take a look at the close date, but the monthly recurring revenue. So obviously, the bigger the MRR for the corresponding opportunities, the more we prioritize um, these things. And we would hold call at the beginning of the month to make sure that the sales leaders let us know what they were prioritizing, and one closer to the end of the month to make sure that nothing new had come up and nothing new
Right.
had been moved up to maybe this month. We would also hold a separate call with our legal department, a contracts cadence call, where we would discuss any enterprise agreements that were already out, or that the contract team was already had already been engaged on. Because a lot of the times, what would happen is they would not reach out to my team. We didn't know that an opportunity was needed for a prospect, but once we talked to the legal department, they're like, "Oh yeah, like so and so has a contract out for this customer." I'm like, "Okay, well, why is there a contract out for this customer that we didn't know about?" And then that's when we would kind of find discrepancies between their team and ours, and see what they were working on and what we were working on, to make sure that everybody was on the same page as far as what deals were closing at the end of month or quarter.
Right. Okay. And this whole matter with like coordinating cross-functionally and finding out like discrepancies and removing these discrepancies so the deals close seamlessly. This was also something that you did for like the previous bullet about like the strategic clients, right? Like multi-million dollar strategic clients, correct?
Correct.
All right. Okay, you did that for those as well. Okay. And okay, right. And like you just told me that like how you handle contract closures, right? Like where's the part about creating solutions?
Um, I mean, that
You
was,
said about, yeah, go ahead.
I guess the create solutions part is not necessarily accurate. I mean, because like I said, creating those forecasting reports was
Right.
our way of fixing these last minute drills and last minute requests from the sales team.
Right. And like these were like ad hoc forecast reports that you created using Salesforce, correct? To like help the sales team.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm correct in that, right? Ad hoc reports to help the sales team using Salesforce. Right. Okay.
Okay.
Uh, I identify root cause and solution to Salesforce errors in coordination with system administrators. Okay, so you said that you identified root cause and solution of like Salesforce errors, right? In coordination
Mhm.
with system administrators. So could you discuss a couple of these errors, like what were these errors and like how did you resolve them?
Well, um, because there were so many changes going on through, through the consolidation efforts, which are a completely different thing. Sometimes, because we would go through a release through the consolidation, maybe once a quarter. Mhm.
Right.
Sometimes they would get delayed, so it wouldn't necessarily, it wasn't strictly one release per quarter, but it was kind of averaging out to be like that. In between those releases, we would get a lot of system errors. One example, one of the last examples that I had to deal with before we parted ways was um, our monthly recurring revenue was not being it wasn't calculating correctly in Salesforce. So an opportunity would be punched in, and the MRR was just, it was incorrect. I would look at the amount and I just knew that I would manually calculate what products were on the opportunity, the service term for that opportunity, how, what the length of the service term was, and that monthly revenue and the total contract value and the initial amount were incorrect. So
Right.
what I would do is, one, I identified that problem. I was like, okay, these fields are incorrect, these amounts are incorrect. Why are they incorrect? So after some research and after just going in there and then I would take the amount that it was showing, and I'm like, okay, well, how is the system getting to this amount? It turns out that somewhere, somehow, I don't know how or when this happened, but a lot of our SKUs were, what's the word? They were classified incorrectly. So what had happened is a lot of our one-time fees, things like a piece of hardware, a configuration fee, which is basically our activation fee, which is a one-time charge for the customer. All of these SKUs had been categorized as MRR. So
Right.
the amount was coming up to be higher. So once I identified what the issue was, why it was being processed incorrectly, at that point I reached out to the system administrators, which our IT team, and said, hey, this is the one example I have, but these SKUs are not supposed to be MRR. These are one-time charges, and we need to fix this in order for the system to properly provide us with an accurate total contract value. For a million reasons, but mainly for reporting purposes.
Right.
Um,
Okay.
so yeah, we reached out to IT, and they were able to fix that for us.
Right. Okay. And like you said that like this was an incorrect amount, right? Did this incorrect amount create any like problems, like did this incorrect amount already create any problems, or like did you catch this problem pretty early on?
We caught it before. Um,
Right.
mm, well, uh, sorry, give me 1 second. Um, yeah, yeah, this was something that we definitely caught. Well, I definitely caught before the opportunity was um, closed one, which doesn't go into reporting yet.
Right. But like what I meant was like you caught this problem with with your system, correct? This was like
Correct.
system related issue, right?
Mhm.
So doesn't this mean that other people were facing the same problem and didn't identify it till now, till you caught it?
Well, yeah, and actually that's a point I was going to come up, because I was in a team of four other people, four new, not as experienced sales operations reps. I don't believe that they identified this just yet until I brought it up. Um,
Right.
so it may have. I mean, there may have been opportunities out there that went through incorrectly, but again, once
Right.
the administrators went in there to fix this, um,
Right.
that,
Okay. And when you,
yeah.
hello? Yeah. And when
Yes.
you caught this opportunity, and when you caught this opportunity, like you identified like, hey, sorry, I mean, when you caught this problem, you identified that, hey, this is an issue. Uh, like catching this problem, you said it's like helpful for reporting purposes that this amount be accurate, right? So could you elaborate on that, like how is this beneficial to the company exactly?
Well, well, one, it would have caused billing issues. So once the opportunity was closed won, that customer would have received a bill for an incorrect amount. Uh,
Right.
because
Okay.
our billing system directly pulls this information from Salesforce, they would have gotten an incorrect invoice with a